Hey everybody, I'm Andrew Beauchamp, and you're watching Habitat Kitchen, the place where we test out vegetarian and vegan recipes and see if they're any good. Today we are making lemon poppy seed muffins. I got this recipe from the Preppy Kitchen, so let's put this recipe to the test and see if they're any good. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Come on, let's get started. The first thing I did was preheat my oven to 425 Fahrenheit, and I got my muffin tins ready and all lined before I started mixing any of the ingredients. Then I sifted together all of my dry ingredients. This included my flour, baking powder, and baking soda into a large bowl. And make sure you're using a larger bowl because you will be pouring your wet ingredients into this bowl. So you're definitely going to want some room to be able to mix. After all your dry ingredients are sifted, you're going to want to pour in your poppy seeds and whisk them together. The mixture does look pretty cool. It kind of looks like the inside of a dragon fruit by the time you're done this. But this is a weird step for me because I'm used to just soaking the poppy seeds for about a half hour in some warm liquid just to help soften the shells of the poppy seeds. This will still provide a nice crunch, but they won't be as sandy, so you won't get as much grit in your mouth. It also helps release a lot of that wonderful poppy seed flavor, that nice nuttiness, to create more of a complex flavor inside your baked good. I do highly suggest pre-soaking your poppy seeds because it does add a little something something. But I made sure to stick to the recipe fully before change anything, which is always a good rule of thumb. In a separate bowl, you're going to want to rub together your sugar and your lemon zest. This might seem like a bit of a weird step, but it's one worth taking. So all this is doing is bursting all of those cells in that lemon zest and spreading that oil throughout the sugar to help create more of that rich lemony flavor. Whenever you're done this, the sugar should feel and kind of look like wet sand. To the sugar mixture, we're going to add the rest of our wet ingredients. This includes eggs, melted butter, yogurt, whole milk, vanilla extract, lemon juice, and just a bit of salt. Whisk that all together until the sugar's almost dissolved and you have this beautiful yellow custard looking batter. With that batter, we're going to mix the wet ingredients into our dry. Now, pour in your wet ingredients and not whisk them, but fold them in together.
You just fold it in.
If you end up using a whisk and mixing it all together, you're gonna get a tough muffin. And you don't want a tough muffin. You're not gonna wanna mix it too heavily, or it's just gonna work the gluten in the flour more, making the muffin more tough. Make sure to mix it in until you can no longer see any dry flour. Fill up our muffin tins. You will notice that this muffin batter is thick, more thick than at least I've ever made before. And that's mainly because of the liquids that we were using in our wet ingredients. We used a lot of yogurt, a lot of high fat things to really thicken it up. The recipe says to split the batter equally between all 12 muffin tins. I find it really easy to use an ice cream scoop. I went ahead and actually sprinkled a little bit of granulated sugar on the tops of each muffin just to give it a little bit of a crust and a little bit of a caramelization. This was a great pro tip from the recipe, which I actually really enjoyed. Then I stuck the muffins into the middle rack of my oven. Whenever they came out of the oven, I let them cool in the tins for about 10 minutes, just until I could handle them with my hands, and I placed them on a cooling rack for them to fully cool. And in that time, I went ahead and made the glaze for these delicious muffins. The glaze couldn't be simpler. It was just icing sugar and lemon juice. I didn't use the exact measurements that the recipe stated. That's because it was actually really thick whenever I made it. Now, I don't blame the recipe for that because a lot of things can affect a glaze like that. Even the humidity, so the weather can affect that. Not everybody necessarily thinks of the weather affecting your baking, but it does. A quick pro tip is, you know whenever your glaze is done, whenever you can scoop some of your glaze onto your spatula, hold it up, and you see a beautiful ribbon coming down of glaze. So you're not seeing it drip, you're just seeing it come down very smoothly. I put my muffins back into the muffin tins to glaze them because it's just easy having them all in one place where I can then glaze my muffins without having to worry about a lot of mess. I decided to do a bit of a checkerboard pattern on mine, which was just running the icing one way in lines, almost like a zigzag, and then doing the same thing but in the opposite direction of the pan. I let the icing set up, then I took the muffins out of the liners, put them, and they're ready to eat. And this is what I thought. The paper's pulling away clean, which I always like to see in my muffins. I always eat the muffin top first. It's the best part. That's a good cupcake. Muffin, cupcake, whatever you want to call it. This is really good. So it's very moist because we put so much fat into it. If I was to remake these, I would totally soak the poppy seeds before adding them in, because there is a crunch to these and it's a bit more of a harder crunch. I don't find that as pleasant. Some people may like that. I like a bit more of a softer crunch, but this is a delicious muffin. It's lemony. It's crunchy. The glaze on top is a little bit of tart and sweet, especially against the baked good. That little bit of tart brightens the whole thing up. I am so pleased with these. So, in conclusion, this is a great recipe. I would totally make it again with just some minor changes, but they're delicious. Now I have delicious muffins and I don't even have to run out to the store. So, thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to come back next time, like and subscribe, and see you in the next one. Stay hungry, my friends.
Next step is to fold in the cheese.